Tonight is discussion and possible action, Kelson Row Ames tax abatement. And Ray, would you like to start us off?
Well, tonight we have the owner, developer of Kelson Row here to give us a presentation of his proposed tax abatement for the redevelopment project. Michael Belfonte is in the audience along with his CFO, Mark Franzman. So Mike, if you want to maybe just kind of run through the proposal.
Okay. Sure.
Thank you for your time tonight, everybody, and thank you for letting us be here. I think, as everybody knows, we have been working on this project for several years. We have met with the town on numerous occasions to try to come up with the best plan that has been economically viable for our company. We have gone back and forth with different iterations of the plan. We conceded to an affordability component, which was necessary to get this approved. 10% of the property and the units will be affordable. We also are looking to try to create a downtown center with approximately 20,000 feet of commercial consisting of retail and office next to Dividend Road. We also bought the property recently, about a year ago, and we have knocked down pretty much the Ames building. In addition, we were able to get a grant from the state of Connecticut with the help of Rocky Hill. There was enormous amounts of hazardous building materials within the actual building itself. The building was over 200,000 feet. There is also groundwater contamination. And with all of these costs that came in, we had also asked for a tax abatement from the town of Rocky Hill in order to make the project viable. Without the tax abatement, the project does not work. We went back and forth with the town and with Ray and Lisa and Mona trying to negotiate something that would work for us and for our bank and for our investor. And the result of that, which I think you have in front of you, is a fixed tax abatement over the course of 12 years, 2 years during the construction period, and then a subsequent 10 years after, of $62,583 per year. And that's the deal that we are proposing this evening. Any questions? Or yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. All right. I don't have
Michael, I have it in front of me.
Yeah.
So the year 8 would be an
sorry.
80% abatement.
No. Yeah. I'm sorry. The last 3 years. I'm sorry. Year 8 would be 148,000. Year 9, 297,000 and change, and year 10, 371,000.
To the town.
Right, so that's the unabated portion. The abated portion is so it's 80% in year 8 is the proposal.
Correct.
60% in year 9 and 50% in year 10.
Correct.
Then after it goes to the normal, the full assessed rate.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Do we have, Chris, you want to start with questions?
Sure. And first, I'd like to thank you for your work with the town. We are looking to we're all looking towards having a successful project in that area. As someone who many years ago used to have summer jobs parking or chasing shopping carts around Ames parking lots, it's nice to see that that's something that will actually become hopefully a big part of our town moving forward. Our goal is to be a good partner with you over the long-term relationship, over the long-term success of this project, and also moving forward as well. There were some questions that we have. Obviously, it's a high-visibility project for folks in town, and there has been taxpayer money at the state level, and also there will be some additional funding from the residents. So we want to make sure that they feel that they're getting a good deal as well. So I was hoping that you could talk a little bit about how you feel that project will contribute to the center of the town. This may be one of the first times that folks who may have not seen the planning and zoning meetings will have been able to hear about it. So not all the way through the proposal, but a general summary of how you feel it will contribute to the town as that town center district. And then also your vision for the project. It's my understanding that in other areas you own and operate, but some of how you plan on being a good steward of that site moving forward as well. So just a quick summary, and then also what's your vision for operating that?
Well, I know that the land has been sitting fallow for over 20 years and has been generating very little, if any, taxes. In addition, there has been a recent tax appeal by the old owner to get the taxes reduced even further, which has happened. I think it brings an enormous amount of economic value. There'll be 213 apartments. These are units that are not, except for the 10% workforce housing, these are people that are making mostly above the median income of the town of Rocky Hill. Most of these people are, in the 100,000 plus bracket of salaries. We just recently completed a project in Cromwell, Connecticut called the Landon, 160 units. It's very close by, and have had enormous success with that project. And the town is also very happy with the outcome. So this is a product that is a renter by choice as opposed to a renter by necessity. So these people really want to rent as opposed to owning a home and having burdened with property taxes and mowing their lawn and shoveling their snow. And this is a concierge type building. We're going to have, 3 people actually full-time on the property, catering in management, catering to the people and helping them. We have different kinds of events. We have a dog park. We have a dog Halloween costume party. That's what we just finished in Cromwell. It was quite a big success. Clubhouse, pool, gym, and most of these people are hopefully going to shop in Rocky Hill, and revenues will go back to the town. I know there's a car tax thing, but I understand you're not getting 100% of those car taxes because of the state, but it is something. And these will be really good residents in the town of Rocky Hill. So, we feel very confident it's going to help you economically. And this is a best-in-class project. Our materials that we're using are, not to disparage any of the other projects in the area, and I'm not going to name names, but it is a better class of product than what you're seeing now being built in other areas in this Hartford County. So we're very pleased, about that. And that's the other reason for the abatement is that, we're spending an enormous amount of money on materials and appliances and cabinets, and these are, very high-end kind of things. And that was what we had agreed to when we got the project approved. So it's a, again, a best-in-class project. As it relates to the management company, we've been in business for over 30 years. We're not sellers of property for the most part. We buy, we own, we manage, and we rehabilitate or we build. You got a lot of people that are merchant builders, where they'll buy a piece of property, they'll build the apartment building, and then they'll sell it for a profit. Well, we just recently signed a 10-year loan on Cromwell. So we are planning on owning Cromwell, which is the land, for at least 10 years, hopefully longer, as long as I'm around. I hope it's not only 10 years. So our plan is to keep Kelson Row. I think everyone, if you don't know what the Kelson is, the superstructure of a sailboat. As you know, there have been a lot of sloops built along the river here. And it used to be a boat yard down near the river. So Kelson coming from the superstructure of the boat, and Row coming from housing. And that's how we came up with that name. We went through a very thorough branding to get to that name. We had several focus groups. We had the town involved in some of those meetings and came up with what we think is, the really, really luring and cool name, and a good name for Rocky Hill. So it has history behind it. And that's the story of our company. We're doing a large project now up in Boston, in Revere, Mass, with Hines Partners. It's one of the largest privately held real estate companies in the world. They're in 26 different countries, in addition to the United States. Excuse me, that's right on the Atlantic. It's called the Rivio for Revere. Again, that was done through a branding company. It's about $100+ million project, 209 units, mixed use as well, with some retail on the first floor.
And thank you for that response. In talking about the renter by choice profile of that, or that segment of the market that you're approaching, just a couple of questions about that audience. Or how long do they usually stay? What does your occupancy rate look like? And then also, there's always, whenever you make apartments, folks are concerned about kids, or the number of kids that might go to school. How do those kind of things factor into the types of tenants that you usually have there?
Well, we only have two types of apartments, ones and twos. Typically, kids are attracted to, or parents that have kids are attracted to, maybe 3-bedroom apartments, not twos. In fact, we just did a study on another project that we're doing, and the subdivision that would have gone where the apartments would have generated more school-age kids than the apartments. So I think we came up with, 11 or 12 kids, Mark? Yeah, so we expect only 12 kids, and this was done by we use a Rutgers model. It is a formula-driven model, and, we've shared that with the town, and I don't see many kids here at all.
And then the last piece that I just want to touch on before I let other folks or stop monopolizing the mic here. You mentioned a lot of the great amenities that you're building out on the site for the folks who rent there. Could you talk a little bit about the public access pieces? I know we've talked about pocket parks and things like that, but how is it going to, for folks who aren't living there, on top of the economic impact, just with the site itself, what parts of that will be open to the public?
Well, there is a plaza that will be on the corner where Dividend Road is, across from your Memorial Park. I think that's what it's called, right? Memorial Park? Yeah, and that will be a plaza with a fire pit, hopefully a restaurant, and that's what we're looking to get, a really nice restaurant with some outdoor seating, et cetera, and that's certainly open to the public, as well as that pocket park that's towards Town Hall. That also, so that's a pensive area, and we see a lot of bicycles. We see this property actually working very nicely as a linkage to the river and the river park, and we see it all working really well. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
And John, anything you want to ask?
Yeah, I do actually. First off, again, thank you
Sure.
for being up here, giving us that background. And many folks here in the town are absolutely interested in learning more, and this really helps tremendously. And myself being in the town for 23 years, seeing that building for that long, this is beyond exciting for me personally, and I'm very thankful for having someone like yourself in your company to step in and really making a difference for us.
We're equally as excited.
There's something that Chris mentioned earlier, that there's a piece in here where it says the project must represent a long-term partnership to the town, and the redevelopment project represents a minimum of 10 years of partnership. Can you expand upon that, what the partnership really means, besides the obvious that's in the contracts?
Well, we look at all of our associates as partners. Our banks are our partners. Our employees are our partners. The town is our partners. Anyone that has a stake, who is a stakeholder, is a partner. So if Ray calls me in 2 years and say, Michael, there's some complaints because, people are on, quads, driving through the town, I expect to fix that. So we're not a company that cuts and runs. So, we want to have a long-term relationship with the town, and maybe there's another property or something else we could develop here. And if I'm developing a property in another part of the state, I want them to call up Ray, or Lisa, and ask them, how did it go with these guys? Did they do a good job? Were they responsible? Did they, we really pride ourselves on doing the right thing. I mean, you ask anyone about me or anyone about my company, talk to the people at Cromwell and ask the mayor and ask the town manager, Tony, who I know, now by his first name. I didn't know him before I got there, but he's a nice gentleman, and so we're here to serve, and we're not, again, by the way, we're not merchant builders. We're here to buy it, develop it, and keep it. That's our MO. We work too hard to get to this point, and then, for some dollars, run away from it. So we're here to stay.
Thank you. Excellent, thank you.
Michael, I'll just, and Mark, you may want to jump in because we had an opportunity to talk on some of these things. As part of your proposal, you kind of outlined some of the other revenue areas flowing into the town, and you touched on the car taxes and whether it comes from the owner or the state, however that works. But the part we haven't, and the reason I'm bringing these up is I don't believe the full packet was put online, so the public doesn't know all the information that we're reading here.
I didn't bring that either. There are definite statistics in our earlier presentation that showed the taxes per household, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
If you have that, then...
I do. The one I was
Yeah.
interested, though, and it's more to make the point that while you're looking for an abatement, there's also the building fees and permits
Yep.
that we'll be getting in, which will amount to about $700,000.
Correct.
Is the estimated number. And Ray, I think that's one that you guys have looked at, so we know that that's
Yeah,
in the realm.
that's in the ballpark. Could
Yeah,
be-
okay,
We're hoping it would be more.
right. We can work on that, right? We can work on that.
By the way, that wasn't intentional on those last 3 years to the $60,000.
No, so the question that people ask us, and Mark and I discussed it,
Yeah.
is, you're building a big complex in town. And when the residents ask us, well, why are you giving an abatement? What's the purpose of an abatement? Could you just kind of explain why a developer comes, looks for an abatement, and how it helps you put a project together to kind of answer to the public, hey, why is the council looking to take tax dollars, give
Okay.
tax dollars back to a project?
Well, the first big thing is the 10% affordable. Those are not money makers. In fact, we lose money on that 10%. And that was something that is now a mandate, in the state that well, it's a mandate, but the state is encouraging every municipality with every multifamily project now to have at least 10% affordability. So not only will those people make less than 80% of the median income, but there's also a utility allowance that we have to pay and absorb for those people as well. So I would say that's the first thing. The second thing is that property, before we bought it, was in terrible shape environmentally, and we didn't realize the scope of how bad it was until we started peeling back the onion and started looking at, there was a old dry cleaners there. I don't know if you remember when there was one time a First National, I guess, there, and there was a dry cleaner, and there was also an auto repair place in one of those inline stores. So there is groundwater still that we have to remediate and keep track of through monitoring wells underneath the ground. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is that we're building a best-in-class project because it is your downtown center. And it is your, hopefully, new town center. And that's why our materials are better, and, our bricks are better, and everything is better. So those are, I would say, the three big drivers on why the abatement is necessary. And oh, by the way, we did get an abatement in Cromwell, and we're working on a project in North Branford, and we're getting an abatement there also, or it's just not feasible. It really doesn't work. It's much thinner than everybody thinks, or everyone would be doing it. And it's an enormous amount of risk, for our company and for me personally, signing on a, $56 million construction loan, is a huge number. And I have to sign that personally. So I have to make sure that this thing works. And without the abatement, it simply doesn't work.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
I don't have anything.
I just had another question, because I imagine this is something that will come up due to the past grants. I think primarily were issued for the environmental remediation. How did that offset the additional costs that you mentioned? Because I think one of the things that we'll hear is folks say, well, they already got that grant from the state, and they'll want to know how that played a role in the other options that we're considering for the abatement.
Well, it's a no secret, right? It's $999,000, and that's simply put towards knocking the building down and remediating the environmental problem. What's the total cost of remediation? Way more than that.
Yeah, the cost of the building abatement and demolition is almost $2 million, and that doesn't count for the additional work we'll have to do with the soil remediation.
Plus paying for the property.
Sure.
And I'll just add, you talk about.
Mark, if you can, just speak from the microphone for anybody that's at home.
Sure.
Thank you.
You talk about project costs and what else goes into a cost, so it's not just the actual remediation and tear down, right? We hired third-party contractors, like our environmental engineers are Ty and Bond. We have engineers who are SLR, and we've spent an enormous amount of soft cost dollars with them as well to help us get to this point where we actually could go in doing a phase 1, a phase 2, a phase 3 on Main Street, doing a hazardous building material assessment. So there's, and as Michael said, there will be ongoing environmental work that we'll have to do through the construction process over the next couple of years that are additional costs beyond just the hard costs of knocking the building down and remediating it.
And just, you mentioned the additional groundwater contamination as it relates to the auto body shop and some other things. Is that standard? There was just, extra like petroleum and the products that you would use while running an auto body shop that just kind of sunk into the ground underneath. I mean, it comes up in public, so neighbors shouldn't be concerned, nothing like that.
No, we had the choice or the decision to be made about the remediation in the soil it's extensive in area, but not extensive in contamination. But it is expensive to remove soil and take it out of the ground and send it elsewhere for proper removal. But no, there's no immediate or long-term impact on residents.
And then just lastly, you mentioned, we talked a little bit about the period during which the abatement will happen. What's just your overall, for folks who haven't been looped in before, what's the overall project schedule look like? When do we think we'll see people moving in? When do we think we'll see the restaurant open? Just ballpark.
Our plan right now is to begin construction in March. The timeline right now with the construction company is somewhere between 28 and 32 months, but we would be moving, the move-in would happen in phases. So we would expect that the first residents would be moving in sometime in mid to late 2024, with the project being completed by mid-2025. Or I guess Q3 of 2025.
Not going to hold you to it. But
Yeah.
just think of ballpark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If all goes well.
We also want to mention that, you know, we're trying to find a really good restaurant to go there. You know, and it's tough for us to market it until people see something being built. There's signs up there, but until, you know, you really start construction, you know, you have a lot of naysayers, and, you know, is it really going to happen? And so once it starts rolling, I think you're going to see some people that do want to make their home there, some businesses that do want to make their home there. So I'm confident we'll definitely have some tenants. You know, I can't promise you a 5-star restaurant, but, you know, we're doing our best, you know, to get someone or a company or a restaurant that'll be really good and will work synergistically with the community. I will promise you one thing. I'll go on the record with this. You're not going to see any, you know, vape stores, and, you know, you're not going to see anything like that in anything we build. So there will only be first-class tenants. I promise you that.
Ray, do you or Mona have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just, I'd like to touch upon a couple of topics that were questions that were asked earlier, starting with the school children. I had done a very comprehensive study of all of the apartment complexes with 10 or more units in town during the Planning and Zoning Commission process, utilizing not national figures, but local, real figures I received from the Rocky Hill Board of Ed, evaluating the age and the sizes of every apartment complex in town, comparing them, and then comparing the amenities. And this particular project is very, very similar to Altair and Montage as far as the amenities and the quality of the development. And the price points, very, very important. Price points will have a dramatic impact on the actual number of kids in a development. My estimate is more like 15 kids will be generated from this development, but not at all at one time. You know, Altera and Montage combined generate, I believe, 16 kids. So it's a low ratio for these new, modern, highly amenitized developments. Just to breeze through a couple of my comments and a couple of pieces of correspondence I sent to you, and I dropped off to you. I know there was a question on, you know, the rent points. You know, what would be the rent, you know, for an affordable rent? And based on our new affordable housing plan that was recently approved, this particular development will be targeted at probably 80% area median income. So for a one-bedroom, that's around $1,265 per month, and for a two-bedroom, it's about $1,562 per month. And the area median income is based on the number of people per household. And again, these figures come from our newly approved affordable housing plan. The area median income for Rocky Hill area, Hartford area, for a one-person household is $78,820 annual income. Two-person household is $90,080 annual income. So for the sake of for the estimate, I did an average between the two. So let's say, you know, area median income of a combined $84,450 per household, per unit. I did a quick analysis of, okay, let's say it's at a 22% tax rate, both federal and state combined. That comes out to about $65,800, almost $65,900 per household. And then I minus out 30% of the housing costs, because that's what affordability is based on, and all the housing statistics that you know, getting a mortgage, 30% of your income devoted to housing costs. So that comes out with a potential of about $46,110 of potential discretionary income per household. So a simple, basic calculation, you take that figure, multiply it by 213 units, and it looks like there is a possibility that this proposal will infuse up to, $9.8 million of discretionary income throughout the area. Hopefully, that will make a huge impact on the Silas Deane Highway corridor, all the way into Weathersfield, and also regionally. So, to go back to a question of, what would be the impact of this proposal, I think that's a major component, in addition to tying, this is like the impetus, the beginnings of getting our downtown back, not just connecting to the river, but spending or spreading the potential spending that I just mentioned down the corridor, the Silas Deane Highway corridor, to these businesses that are struggling, the small mom and pop shops, possibly bringing in new businesses along the corridor. So that would be, my take on this, as far as the benefit that this project would have to the town. And personally, over the 16 years I've been here, from day one, I've been working with over 35 commercial realtors, entities, developers, investors on this project. I'm going to have them all listed. They're all not all from Connecticut. They're from the area, from out of the area, and they all have stalled because of the costs associated with this redevelopment, the environmental impacts, the demolition. This particular proposal, approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission a few months ago, is, I think, our chance to actually start the process of growing our downtown, getting our downtown back. And if we have to do an abatement, which if Belfonte walks away, another developer may come in, but they're going to be looking for an abatement because of the costs associated, even though the property had been already, the building already demolished. Site work, some of the site work would have already been done, but that a proposal would come in. Hopefully, it would be as good as this development, and they would be asking for another abatement. Is this going to snowball? And right now, we have a development that is approved, that is a high-quality development, and that's going to bring many benefits to the town in the future. Unfortunately, we may have to wait 5 years, may probably a little bit longer. Alan, you probably know better than I do, like the payback period, maybe 10, 12 years, probably 12 years before we actually see that, $40 million assessment on this project 10 years from now. Instead of collecting $63,000, we'll be collecting, $800,000 up to closer to $1 million a year.
Two other things, Alan, if I may. The first is that our loan was approved with this abatement. I don't have the loan if I don't get the abatement. And that's not just letting you know the facts. The second thing is just what you probably already know, but the project does not generate any types of snow plowing since we own the streets. The project owns the streets, so you don't have to worry about that. And the same thing with the trash. The trash is picked up by us. It is not a cost that the town has to absorb. So those are two important fiscal things that I wanted to mention.
All right. Charlie, there's no public participation in the meeting, but if you'd like to make comments, you can do so at the council meeting on the 17th. So just to let you know that.
Okay, I won't say anything, but I hope when you make the presentation the next time, you're a little clearer about what the abatement is. You said 60,000, somebody said 10 years and 360. So it's for a taxpayer here who's going to pay what he isn't going to pay Social Security $22,000 a year. There's got to be a better presentation than what we're hearing today. I won't say anything.
Thank you, Charlie.
Ms. I do have a memo that I sent to you with a recommendation.
Yes, I have your recommendation.
And just perhaps before, one of the things, and I'm not sure if that was clear, Ray, when you were doing your summary, you're mentioning that we had to wait perhaps 10 years, that payback window, before we hit the full assessed value. There are other fees and permit fees and other towns beyond the $63,000 that we would be recognizing during that window. Am I correct about that?
Well, that would be the building permit fees in excess of $700,000. And other, CO fees, certificate of occupancy fees, inspection fees on top of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. I just want to make sure.
And then depending on the tenants that go in, there may be personal property taxes that wouldn't be subject to the abatement. Again, we don't know what the tenants are at this point, but
For the commercial side, absolutely.
Commercial side,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Probably no boats in the parking lot, I guess.
And just to make,
I'll just say-
just to clear up something, if there was confusion, the proposal was the proposal from the applicant. That was it. And then there is a proposal that would be a recommendation if it goes to recommendation from this subcommittee. So, typically, the developer will propose a proposal, and the subcommittee, as in the past, have come up with a recommendation which may be different. Town council may be different at that point if it gets to the town council also.
And I'm just looking, and I'm getting used to the digital world of getting the proposal in front of me. So and just to be clear of what it is, the pre-construction portion, which is the first 2 years, is $62,563 is what will be paid to the town. That's not an abated amount, that's what will be paid, and I believe that's the current rate being paid by the prior owner of the property. We would continue to receive the $52,563 through year 7, at which time we would then be receiving 80%, we will be providing an 80% abatement in year 8, a 60% abatement in year 9, and a 50% abatement in year 10. And that was the recommendation coming from the town manager. So with that said, do we have a motion to send this to the council for the meeting on the 17th?
I'd like to make a motion to proceed to send this recommendation to the town council on January 17th.
And,
Second.
any further discussion?
I did have a question, and this is just an item, and just looking over some of the other abatements that we've issued in the past, and this isn't a reflection or concern around the current presentation or developers, but in the past, the town has seen some projects that have stalled out, either due to economic conditions or for whatever purpose, for whatever reasons. Is there any standard language that a town might have to have the abatement either milestone based or some sort of reauthorization? Just as a concept, I mean, I'm not suggesting that we write it in a certain way, because I know that there's the financial considerations as well that would assume that the abatement is going forward. But is there any sort of concept like that towns use to help keep a seat at the table after we've approved it, or is that not something that's standard or done at all?
Well, within our standard conditions or stipulations of approval within the business incentive policy, any failure to comply, absent any modifications by the town council, may result in the town has the right to null the policy. I mean, if they don't meet, let's say, if you want to be a real stickler, 32 months from now, they're not ready, that's a violation.
Yeah,
In theory,
yeah.
right? If they fail to pay their $62,000 tax bill on time, that's a violation. Those are triggers that the town could take to null and void the project or the abatement.
And again, not a reflection on what we've heard tonight. Partnership is very important to us, and it sounds like it's important to the developer as well. But it's important for the folks of our town to know that that they're protected as well. So that's helpful to know that we do have some protection there. Should someone hit the $1 billion Powerball tomorrow and decide to that they don't want to develop, that's helpful.
Okay.
And Ray, just as a clarification, this would go to as a new business item to the agenda?
New business item.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's not on the consent agenda because it should be discussed. Okay, any further items of discussion?
Should we note about the pre-construction on abatement?
That's the 2 years prior
2
to,
years, okay.
yes. So that's in there, in
Okay.
the memo. Okay. We good? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No noes, no abstentions. Motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.